What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we're going to start our 2021 NFL offseason recap videos with two videos. Today we will have the AFC and NFC East. Tomorrow, being Wednesday, will be the Norths. And then Thursday will be the Souths. And Friday will be the Wests. So basically, how I have this broken down is we're going to look at the Bills real quick for an example. I have the players that they drafted in the first 3 rounds of the draft listed out here. Next to them, I have the spot in which they were picked. And of course, then I have the key players that they added and lost via free agency or trades or retirement. So using, once again, the Bills, you will see we have like linebacker Matt Molino here. Now, next to him, I have an R/S. That means he re-signed with the team. Someone like right above him, Matt Breida, has nothing next to his name. That means he was just a free agent signed from another team. And then I don't have any good examples for the Bills. We'll go down to the Dolphins here. You see Shaq Lawson in the lost pile with a T next to him. That means they traded him away. And then we'll go to the Patriots real quick. They have wide receiver Julian Edelman with an R next to him. That means he retired. I did not discuss I will not discuss the trades in full detail. There is a video that will be linked in the description below that discussed the trades that happened right when the NFL season opened. So once again, that will be linked in the description below. So yeah, I also won't go into too much detail about the first round draft picks. We did a video about that. Anyway, we will start by discussing the Buffalo Bills now that that's out of the way. So they drafted some key players here. They added a pair of defensive ends with Gregory Rousseau at 30 and Carlos Basham Jr. at 61. And then they also added offensive tackle Spencer Brown at 93 during the draft. So basically, they saw that they needed help on the lines, and they took advantage of it. They had a solid draft. So none of these guys are probably going to be main starters, at least in 2021. Maybe Rousseau will be, but still, solid draft for the Bills. And then they added some key players in free agency. They added backup quarterback Mitch Trubisky. Can't go wrong with that. Running back Matt Breida. And wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders, a pair of skilled players. Neither one should really shine. Sanders would be a bigger name about 5 years ago. In 2021, he's probably just wide receiver 3. They also re-signed right tackle Darrell Williams and guard John Feliciano. Now, both these guys were okay last year. I don't know if the Bills fans are excited about having them back. I'm not sure. They also re-signed linebacker Matt Milano, who I mentioned before, and then they added punter Matt Hawk from a division rival. I mean, you can't go wrong. Punters change teams a lot, so. And then they lost a couple of players, not too many. They lost wide receiver John Brown. He's going to be missed, but Emmanuel Sanders can probably do what he did. Offensive tackle Ty Nishiki. Again, he's a veteran that will probably be missed. Defensive end Trent Murphy and cornerback Josh Norman. Norman recently signed with the team. Murphy, he's not great. He's a solid backup, though. So the Bills, they're still a solid team. They didn't have a lot of holes to fix, so they didn't need to do too much. Next, we'll go to the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins had a lot of draft picks in the first 3 rounds. With the 6th overall selection, they picked wide receiver Jalen Waddle. And then at 18, they went with defenseman Jalen Phillips. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail about the first-round picks. At 36, the Dolphins would pick safety Javon Holland. At 42, they would add offensive tackle Liam Eichenberg. And at 81, they would add tight end Hunter Long. The Dolphins, they wanted a strong backup tight end. They don't know if Gesicki's going to come back when his contract expires. Can't blame them. Same thing with Eichenberg. They wanted a strong backup lineman. And Holland, he looks like he's a good player. He could have been a late first-round pick. It wouldn't have surprised a lot of people. Getting him in the 2nd round, solid value. And then they added some key players as well in free agency. They added quarterback Jacoby Brissett to back up Tua. He's a great backup. He's been around the league for a while. He's been a starter before. Of course, he's been in the Belichick system, so you can't go wrong with adding a player like that. And then they added some skill players in Malcolm Brown and Will Fuller V. Will Fuller V will be out for week 1, but after that, they still get 16 games of Will Fuller. Still feels weird to say that, 16 instead of 17. 16 games, 17 game seasons, it's weird, but Malcolm Brown's probably not going to be a starter for the Dolphins, but he should still get some carries. And then you have Will Fuller. He will be a starter for this team. He should be a star receiver for this team. And then we have defensive end Adam Butler, cornerback Jason McCourty, both coming to Miami. Both came from division rivals too, so always good to get division rival players. Neither of them will be superstars anymore, specifically McCourty. He's older. He could start some games. Butler is just a solid reserve defensive end. And then they added punter Michael Pilardi. He is what he is. Now, they did lose some players as well. They lost quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you will. He will definitely be missed, but, they decided they wanted Tua to be the franchise quarterback. Can't blame them. They just spent a first-round pick on the guy back in 2020. They also lost running back Matt Breida to the Buffalo Bills. Not a big loss. They lost offensive tackle Isaiah Wilson. This is an odd one. So the team traded for him, and then they ended up cutting him shortly after. He just has some real off-the-field concerns. He was a first-round pick in 2020, actually, so never good. He's already been essentially dumped by two teams, and he's not even starting year 2 yet. So we'll have to see what happens with him. They traded away defensive end Shaq Lawson. They also lost defensive tackle Devon Godchaux. So they lost a pair of linebackers as well in Cameron Grugier-Hill and Kyle Van Noy. They cut Van Noy. And then they also lost safety Bobby McCain and punter Matt Hawk. None of these players are going to be super missed. Maybe McCain will be, and Godchaux was showing up last year as well towards the end of the season. But, the linebackers they missed aren't going to be super major. And, if you want to look at it, Shaq Lawson was actually cut by the team he was traded to, so is what it is. Next, we go to the New England Patriots, and the Patriots had a busy offseason. So in the draft, they drafted quarterback Mac Jones at 15, defensive tackle Christian Barmore at 38, and defensive end Ronnie Perkins at 96. Now, again, I'm not going to discuss the first round picks too much. Barmore was considered a potential, mid first round pick, probably around like the 20 range. He fell to New England. He definitely has a lot of potential. Ronnie Perkins, we'll see, probably more of a backup defensive end. Can't go wrong with that. Now, they added a lot of people in a very un-Belichickian-like offseason. They re-signed quarterback Brian Hoyer for the umpteenth time. They also re-signed running back James White. And then they added a pair of receivers in Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, as well as a pair of tight ends in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Now, they added a ton of skill players. They want to see what Mac Jones can do with these players. It's going to be exciting to see this offense running with two strong tight ends once more. They then reacquired via trade offensive tackle Trent Brown. They re-signed center David Andrews, shoring up the offensive line a little bit. And then they did sign defensive end Henry Henderson. They also signed defensive tackle Devon Godchaux from Miami. They re-signed defensive tackle Lawrence Guy. And then they did sign another key free agent in linebacker Matt Judon. They acquired linebacker Kyle Van Noy after Miami cut him. And they signed safety Jalen Mills. Now, Belichick kind of went out and he signed guys that had beaten him in the past. So it's always a good idea. He's an older coach. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time. And he's still looking to improve. You got to respect that. He never spends money, but he did this year. Now, they did lose some players. Now, the first one that we're going to discuss is Cam Newton, the quarterback. Now, he had re-signed with the team, but then they recently surprisingly cut him, and he is still looking for a team. There were some rumors going around that, Mac Jones was teaching him the playbook, which is never a good sign. So, I'm not going to get into that. Now, wide receiver Julian Edelman did retire as well. That was a key loss, but it was kind of apparent. He was getting older. He was getting injured a lot in recent years. Brady's gone, so you can't blame him for retiring. He had a great career. Do I think a Hall of Famer? No. Do I think he's a Hall of Famer? No, I don't. Then we have offensive tackle Marcus Cannon. They traded him away. Solid player, but they got a lot of higher picks because they traded him away. So they did lose guard Joe Thuney as well. That's going to be a big loss. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't afford to keep him, but we'll have to see. They did also lose defensive end Adam Butler, defensive tackle Bo Allen, cornerback Jason McCourty, and safety Patrick Chung, who retired. None of these players were major contributors. In fact, Bo Allen didn't even play for the team, and McCourty was older, as well as Chung. So New England, it's going to be interesting to see how they do this year. Lastly, we have the New York Jets, who drafted a group of 3 players here. So the first two we already discussed in a previous video, quarterback Zach Wilson at 2 and offensive tackle Elijah Vera Tucker at 14. Both solid young pieces for your offense. And then they added a third one in the second round at 34 when they picked wide receiver Elijah Moore. Love this pick. Elijah Moore will grow with Zach Wilson. The pressure is on Wilson to actually break the curse of the Jets needing a good quarterback. Now, they did add some more players in free agency. They added a group of skill position players as well. In running back, Tevin Coleman, wide receivers, Corey Davis, and Keelan Cole. So again, pressure's on Zach Wilson, but he probably has at least 2 years. And then they also added offensive tackle Morgan Moses. He's actually a backup right now, but he should be able to fight for and probably get the starting job at some point this year. They did add some help on the defense as well, acquiring defensive end Carl Larson and defensive end Vinny Curry, as well as defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins, and safety LaMarcus Joyner. Now, unfortunately, Lawson is done for the year. He tore his ACL. But the other three, specifically Joyner and Rankins, should have key roles for this defense. So it's good. A defensive-minded coach getting guys that he wants, always a good thing. Now, they did lose some key players as well. They traded away quarterback Sam Darnold. So they gave up on Darnold after only 3 years. That's the NFL that we live in today. They did lose quarterback Joe Flacco to free agency, running back Frank Gore, wide receiver Brashad Perriman, both also left / are still available free agents. Offensive lineman Pat Elflein, who basically plays every position on the line, also left the team. They did lose defensive end Henry Anderson to the Patriots and cornerback Brian Poole as well. Poole is probably one of the more underrated players in the league. I always loved watching Brian Poole. I always love watching him play still to this day. I've always kind of hoped that the Eagles would sign him, but they haven't. So that's a tough loss for the Jets. Now, I do have the 2020 standings here. So Buffalo went 13-3, won the division. Miami went 10-6 and actually finished just outside of the wild card. New England went 7-9, very weird to have them below 500. And the Jets went 2-14 last year. How do I have them all finishing this year? The exact same. Now, to me, Buffalo should be able to run away with this division once more. But it's not going to be as big of a 3-game victory. It's probably going to be like a 1 or 2 games could separate 1 through 3 in this division. Now, Miami and New England, these are two teams that I'm very torn on. It's very tough to look at them. I think Tua has more pressure on him than Mac Jones does. And I think the Patriots naming Mac Jones as their starting quarterback made me put them in 3 instead of 2. But, I think what's going to happen with the Patriots is they're going to start off hot, they're going to get cold, and then they're going to end the season hot. It's going to come down to, can Miami just stay level the whole year? And can Buffalo stay level the whole year? And then New York, young team, talented team, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see them competing for a division title this year. Maybe 2022 will be your time to shine. It all depends on Zach Wilson. Still, these are some young quarterbacks in this division, so it's going to be a very fun division to watch for years to come. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was my AFC East offseason recap and standings prediction. Enjoy the rest of your day.